Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today on Deciphering the Content. I decided to create this show in particular for when we want to review and better understand something that had come up during a previous show or just some specific topic that is related to current events, and kind of explore a little bit of the interconnectedness to other things that help to open up an understanding, reveal some hidden ideas or linking things together that people didn't realize that were connected, and to help explore a little bit of what's going on around our world from this perspective in particular. And prior to this time, I have usually had these topics discussed during our news show and one of our updates, and I decided that this should have its own little corner on the channel and help to separate this type of content from the others so that people can kind of start seeing the little threads, the things that come together, and what it all means. Now, many of you understand, deciphering. Deciphering is something that, we're not going to necessarily be working on codes, and we're not looking at other languages, but actually understanding the content and how it interconnects, and some of the different things that come up that I have discovered, and how it links from one thing to another, and then reveals a deeper meaning and understanding, and how things flow. So this is the first of this series. I have no idea how far this is going to go, but once again, this type of content I think is important, particularly for those that, as you are those that have been listening to my shows, you have an understanding of where we derive at some of our conclusions, and that they're not just a random thought or an image, but I usually go a step further with some of my discussions and interlinking topics, along with some of the visualization and imagery, psychic connection, words, information, gathering it all together, and then seeing how things are linked together according to the content. So as I said, we're not working with codes, so this is not deciphering the codes, but the content and the discussion and topics that we've been over. So anyhow, without further delay, I'm going to get right into it and try not to make this too laborious. The discussion regarding the blue diamonds that were brought up, and those were there were two movies that were involved in that, and they were very interesting movies because, well, one of them's called The Gift, and if I bring that up, and I talk about this, The Gift, and it's a movie. Actually, that's not the right one. The Gift, Keanu Reeves. And so that's the movie here. And at some point, you see that there is, let's see if we can find some pictures, some images. And there's an image of this incident of this one guy who actually was mistreated by his father, and his father had a blue diamond. And we talked about there's something a bit nefarious about this blue diamond. So there was another movie called Siberia, and that, let's see if that comes right up. Yeah, here it is. This also had to do with the selling of blue diamonds and also the counterfeit blue diamonds. These are two movies related to Keanu Reeves, and you could see here is the image and the blue diamond. And so uh, let's get into what this was all about. Um, so here is the Hope Diamond, which is also a blue diamond, and some of you are familiar with the Hope Diamond, and there's also some bad luck that's associated with it. Um, and I'm sure that that's not an accident. Here's a larger version of it. This is the most famous jewel in the world, and the ownership records dating back almost 4 centuries. It's much admired. A rare blue color is due to trace amounts of boron atoms. Now, I just want to say, I know that um, not everyone heard this discussion. This was a private discussion I had with someone, that I was picking up that there was some kind of energy related to some beings that had a lot of boron in them. And boron is a mineral. I mean, it's another element in our reality. However, the boron does add a little something to it. It's everything has a different type of energy, and of course, this was infused and worked with, according to Peter, with the Nephilim. So here is the story. This thing weighed about 45.52 carats. And its size, it was originally larger than that, but the stone was originated from the Colart mine. And that mine was a series of gravel pits on the south bank of the Krishna River in Golconda Sultanate of India. And so, Peter talked about Africa, and he didn't say exactly where that mine was, but this one in particular that we're talking about is in India. The stone is one of the world famous of these diamonds. The earlier records show the stone was purchased in 1666, which is literally, here's that 666 year, by a French gem merchant called Jean-Baptiste Tavernier, as it was also as the Tavernier blue, and it was cut and yielded the French blue, or which is Tavernier sold to King Louis the 14th in 1668. Then it was stolen. In 1791, it was recut in the largest section acquiring the Hope Diamond that appeared in the catalogue of gem collections and owned by a London banking family called Hope in 1839. So you can see immediately it starts off with being extracted from the Kolar mine in India, and then Jean-Baptiste ends up getting this. He purchases it in the year 1666, and then it was cut, sold to King Louis the 14th, and then stolen. And we see it just going through time, leaving a mark within the history, also highly regarded. The gem merchant Harry Winston also had it interred years later at the National Museum of Natural History, and it has since remained on permanent exhibition. But it definitely has, had this idea of being bad luck, or having some kind of energy associated with it. And that kind of goes back to some of the things that Peter was talking about. There's also a tendency for these blue diamonds to be counterfeited. Let's see if there was something there. Well, anyhow, so it's funny because they call it the Hope Diamond, and I was thinking about the Pandora's box, because in the bottom of Pandora's box, So you see over here, according to Hesiod, when Prometheus stole fire from heaven, Zeus, the king of the gods, took vengeance by presenting Pandora to Prometheus's brother Epimetheus. Pandora opened a jar, left it in her care, containing sickness, death, and many other unspecified evils, which were then released into the world. Though she hastened to close the container, only one thing was left behind, usually translated as hope. And I don't know, is that a coincidence? That the diamond, even though the owner of the diamond, their last name is Hope, but is that a coincidence, or is there some other meaning here? Though it could also have the pessimistic meaning of deceptive expectation. From this story has grown the idiom to open a Pandora's box, meaning to do or start something that will cause many unforeseen problems. So I'm not saying that we open the Candle box. We've not opened the Pandora's box now. However, it's something to reflect upon, that maybe is some of this energy, this energy that was brought in by the Nephilim, could be contributing to some of the problems that we have. And if we identify what the problems are, maybe we can ask to have them neutralized. So this is more information about Tavernier and the Tavernier Blue and the blue diamond of the French crown. And, you can see that they're pretty much repeating much of what was said earlier. Here's another blue diamond called the Nassau diamond. And it's called the Eye of the Idol. And the diamond originated as a larger 89-carat diamond in the 15th century in India, and found in same thing that the Kolar mines, and originally cut in India. And look where it ended up, in the Trimbakeshwar Shiva temple near Nashik in India. At least from 1500 to 1817, from the British East India Company. And then it was sold to Rundle and Bridge in England. And then it ended up in the first Marquis of Westminster, to Westminster's dress sword. So I found that was interesting as well. And here's, it talks about how the properties of it with the boron, and of course, information regarding boron. So getting back to the original one that I had, this information, the Hope Diamond. So you can see this transition of where it went. And the theft and disappearance on September 11th, 1792. Louis XVI and his family were imprisoned in the temple in the early stages of the Reign of Terror. During the French Revolution, a group of thieves broke into the royal storehouse and stole most of the crown jewels during a 5-day looting spree. While many jewels were later recovered, including the pieces of the Order of the Golden Fleece, the French blue was not among them, and it disappeared from history. On January 21st, 1793, Louis XVI was guillotined and Marie Antoinette was guillotined on October 16th of the same year. These beheadings are commonly cited as the result of the diamond's curse, but the historical records suggest that Marie Antoinette had never worn the golden fleece pendant because it had been reserved for the exclusive use of the king. I don't doubt that some of these objects have a negativity related to them. I also want to point out that Louis the 14th was also referred to as the Sun King, or he coined himself as the Sun King, and proclaiming his immortality. And the blue diamond became unrecognizable in the Baroque style of the original cut, but I think what they did was it still didn't change the effect of the type of energy that it was carried. They speculate that the theft of the French crown jewels were in fact engineered by revolutionary leaders George Danton as a part of a plan to bribe or opposing military commander Duke Karl Wilhelm of Brunswick. When under attack by Napoleon in 1805, Karl Wilhelm may have had the French blue recut to disguise its identity in his form, and the stone could have come to Britain in 1806 when his family fled there to join the daughter Caroline of Brunswick, although Caroline was the wife of Prince Regent George later. So the blue diamond, which was widely thought to be another piece of the French blue, the smaller diamonds present whereabouts are unknown, and present whereabouts are unknown, and recent CAD reconstruction of the French blue fits too tightly around the Hope diamond to allow for the existence of the sister stone of that size. I just find this quite intriguing, and definitely adds to some of what Peter was talking about regarding these blue diamonds, that they presented a problem, that you see them throughout history, and the Nephilim would give power and also would take away power, would take away kingdoms. And this man, Tavernier, let's see if I can get his, here we go. So he was a French gem merchant and traveler. He was born in Paris, and I guess this is the metal that they're referring to, the Order of the Golden Fleece. I mean, it's not just the diamond in particular, but also the symbology, and we all know that symbology has been very important throughout time. But you add a stone to that, and of course, the stone that the Queen uses, a scepter. It may not be a blue diamond, but it definitely has an energy to that, and we have discussed that before as well. I know some people that just absolutely love crystals and stones, and they see how it emphasizes and enhances their space. It also can create another kind of energy, especially if something like this was created for any type of negative purposes, or to introduce something into our reality, such as that this mine appeared, according to Peter, according to the ACIO, and that it was not, they don't know how that evolved, how that even came about, because it didn't exist before, and then suddenly it was there, and so they felt like the Nephilim just brought it in. as some other dimensional beings do bring things into our reality. And we've seen this before where we have species that sort of just show up that we haven't seen for like a couple hundred years, or, things of that nature. So that type of thing can happen. And let's see, I was just going to look briefly at, as I said, there is that temple too that I don't know why they have it in front of that Shiva temple. I don't think it causes any problems there. But as I was reviewing some of this information and, kind of discussing it with other people, I don't know why I thought about this. It's that blue color, the blue boy, which I always thought kind of fit around that same time period. And this is kind of a weird story too, where, people really got fascinated by this picture, and a lot of people had this picture in their homes. Some people believe it was supposed to be Charles II as a boy. And the artist was Thomas Gainsborough, 1770. And so I started looking a little bit more, and this picture, like I said, is quite interesting because there's more to it. They did find some missing objects. There's actually a person up over here, and I don't know if I can get in closer to that, but you can examine that. We'll leave a link. And this is obviously like the back frame of the picture, but originally, and there was a dog, and there was some other things in here. But there's something very interesting about this picture, and I thought, well, what is it about this picture? Immediately, I know that people are going to say, well, of course that's what you were thinking, but I immediately thought of Edgar Allan Poe. I don't know why. There was something about him that reminded me of Edgar Allan Poe. And I started looking, and then I realized, well, there was this other picture that they paired the two of them. And here's, they call her Pinky, which was created by another artist. And for some reason, during that time period, they paired these two pictures as if they were a couple. And it says the couple that never was. So it was different artists, but you could see that the framework of the pictures, they're pretty much at the same height and centered in the same way, and sort of a glance forward, but yet facing one another as if one is matching the other. And I thought, well, that's interesting. So you can see here's, it's sold that way, these two pictures, Pinky and the blue boy. And there's a lot of, here it is again. I remember seeing it as a child. And so I was trying to figure this out, but they also try to figure it out. But oddly enough, had Pinky and Blue Boy met in real life and lived during the same time frame, they most likely would have been an actual real couple. They had so many similarities in common, relating to each other, so this is their perception, and they see that they were somewhat compatible. So Thomas Gainsborough created this picture, and or they're saying this is Jonathan Buttman and Sarah Moulton. And Thomas Lawrence painted this picture, and then they ended up in this museum together. So I started looking at that picture, and then all of a sudden I started thinking, yeah, Brown University, that has a picture of Edgar Allan Poe, and here is Sarah Helen Whitman, who is there with Edgar Allan Poe. And here is Pinky, who is named Sarah Moulton. And they look similar. They look similar. Almost like this is an older version of her. But what does that have to do with the blue diamond? I think the Nephilim can use anything, and even paired the two together that in some ways maybe didn't need to be paired. It tried to create an agenda, try to create something. I know that the spirit of Edgar Allan Poe was trapped in Brown University and had they call it he was like a ghost there, and you wonder if what I felt was he artificially paired the two together and locked him in that space, similar to what they did with the pictures, which is the use of the boron, the energy. And I'm not saying boron is evil, it is the energy that they put into it and the combination of creating this blue color. And here again, I'm not going to say that the blue color is bad. It's just that there was this kind of unusual thing that kind of opened up to me, and I thought, well, this is quite interesting. Some people might think this is a stretch, and maybe it is, but maybe not. Maybe it's just something to consider and look at. Nothing's really set in stone, but is mostly for a discussion and to take a look at things. Here's a Nephilim. They're considered giants. Some people call them fallen angels. Of course, there's the Book of Enoch. Do they have an agenda? Absolutely. Absolutely. Whatever the construct of where they came from, why they were supposed to be here, and what dynamic they were supposed to be here, it sounds like the agreement was broken, and then they kind of decided to do anything that they felt like doing, which even from a universal perspective, no one has a right to do that. There are still guidelines, and you can cross over those guidelines, but there will be repercussions. And so just, a little bit of a background, kind of a roundabout way of looking at everything, but following the trail of these blue diamonds, and then, finding a few. I think they gave me something else there to help Poe along the way, but I could see that Poe was probably affected by the Nephilim as well. That was my understanding. And maybe Sarah too. Maybe Sarah just didn't belong there, and she was trapped as well. They don't necessarily see her ghost there at Brown University, so that's why I think that it was more to trap him than to trap her. But anyhow, getting back to deciphering, just trying to figure out, and then when we decipher and find these things, we ask to have these things released to free the planet of some of this energy that was brought in unnecessarily, that creates an unhappy, controlling scenario on our reality. Things that affect us, maybe it can be affecting us politically, of what's going on right now, and we can ask to have the sovereignty from any and all Nephilim. How does that sound? I said all of that just to bring to light that this has been an ongoing problem. It's just one of the many threads that we can unravel, disentangle from, break ties with. And so if any of you are listening and you want to gain more freedom, I always say you find a problem, disentangle from it. We don't need quantum entanglement with some of these things. We don't need to be under any prison system or a system that was brought in ages ago. And as some of these beings are losing power, we don't want to be dragged along with them through time and space. We want them to be taken to their proper place and time and dealt with accordingly, and we also want us to be separated from that. So with that said, that's how I'm going to end the show. Thank you for listening. I hope I didn't put you to sleep in discussing some of these details, but have a good day, and share your comments below.